Hello and welcome to Brand X Reviews. Today I'm going to be doing a review of a new movie called The Black Phone. Now this is from Blumhouse Studios, directed by Scott Derrickson, who did Sinister, which was a film about 10 years ago starring Ethan Hawke. Both are back in this. Scott Derrickson directing, Ethan Hawke is one of the main guys. Really good film. I'm not a huge fan of modern horror movies, so if I'm giving a recommendation to a new one, you know it's got to be good. Anyway, here's a review. Very quick 10-second promo and affiliated link for you with a discount code Tactical Soap. We've got Maverick, Bond and Durden. Check out the video description for a link and a discount code. Okay, so The Black Phone, this is a film that only just got released in the UK within the last week. I think it might have been out in the US for a little bit longer, so this video is probably a bit behind the times for a lot of viewers. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to save the spoilers for later in the video, so I'm going to edit in the time code somewhere here. If you want to stop watching after this point here in the video, that's when I'm going to start dropping spoilers. So for now, you're safe to watch this until then, and I will, of course, preface it when I start to get into that. But I went into this movie not having watched the trailer. I don't remember having seen the trailer because I didn't really know much about it. I went on the strength of word of mouth because it's definitely a film that a lot of people have been talking about and saying looked good at the very least. And the people that had seen it as well gave it pretty solid reviews. So on the strength of that, and also the fact that I was quite I say a fan of this movie. A lot of people did not like this movie, and I understand why, but this movie, Sinister, from, I think it was 2013, it was Scott Derrickson directed it, and Ethan Hawke was in the movie as well. And there was also a sequel. Scott Derrickson didn't direct this, and even people that liked Sinister did not like Sinister 2. But again, I thought it was okay. If you watch the two back-to-back, there's worse, let's just put it that way. I know that's not a strong endorsement, but still. But having said that, anyway, like I say, I was kind of a fan of those movies. And so again, Scott Derrickson's back, Ethan Hawke. I really like those guys. I liked what Scott Derrickson did with the first Doctor Strange movie back when I was a fan of the Marvel movies years ago. I thought he did a good job with that as well. Obviously, that was a big studio thing. This is a movie that's done by Blumhouse, the Black Phone. And if you're familiar with them, they're a bit hit and miss. They've done some very good stuff. They brought back the Halloween franchise in a very respectable way, I thought, anyway, to say that franchise was done to death. Blumhouse, when they're on their A game, they're pretty good. And obviously Ethan Hawke was in another Blumhouse film, The Purge, as well. He might have done more, I can't remember, with Blumhouse. But obviously Sinister as well. So, to talk about the movie itself, I'd suggest if you've not seen the movie, don't watch the trailer, because I kind of liked going into this, not knowing too much about it. Obviously, there's kind of an air of paranormal evidence in this whole thing, and it's something that you don't quite know how that's going to play out. Is the villain, is he paranormal? Is he some kind of monster? Is he just a human that's just got like some weird sort of demonic obsessions and likes to dress up? It becomes apparent in the movie, and I'm not going to spoil that until later in the video, but having not known much about it, I think kind of played to its strength, because I didn't really know what to expect, because obviously with the movie Sinister, if you've seen that does get into the paranormal. I mean, this movie kind of dabbles, but I'm not going to say any more than that at this point anyway. But again, like I say, if you're not aware of what's going on, there is a mystery element to this as well. If you've seen the trailer, it's hard to say what is and what isn't a spoiler, but obviously there's an element of children being abducted and killed, possibly, in this as well. It's not too graphic a film as well, I would say that, in that sense. I mean, you've got some stuff with like kids fighting and stuff, and it does get a bit bloody at sometimes, but there's nothing that's too, like, you don't see children getting butchered or anything like that. It's not that kind of a horror film. It's fairly toned down, but obviously that's the plot of the film is you've got an abductor, and you've got some kind of mystery as to like what that's all about, what's going on there. And it is very strong on the fact, the way that this movie is kind of viewed through the lens of the children that are in it. They are the main characters, very similar to the It movie from 2017. It's done from the point of view of kids. So they are the main characters in this. So if you like that kind of thing, if you like what they did with the new Ghostbusters, for example, very different vibe, very different film, but obviously the kids are the main characters and they're not the victims necessarily. It's about them and kind of overcoming evil, basically. So that was done with a good strength. The actors in this are all very good as well. Like I say, Ethan Hawke is one of those actors that anything that he's in, even if it's a film that's not all that good, he elevates the movie, and he certainly does that in this. And he did that in Sinister as well. I think if that had been anybody else, well, just anybody, that movie wouldn't have been as good. It was Ethan Hawke that really carried that movie. Obviously, he's been good in some very good films as well, like Training Day and Assault on Precinct 13, the remake, Gattaca, stuff like that. I've been a fan of Ethan Hawke for a long time, since I was a kid. I remember I used to really love the film Explorers, kind of going off on a tangent here, but he was a very good child actor as well. He kind of started and then had a bit of a gap where he didn't act for a while because that movie flopped. But it was quite a good one. So, like I say, being a fan of Ethan Hawke, that was really kind of what drew me into this movie, obviously being Scott Derrickson as well. So, it's hard to know what else to say without getting into spoilers, really. Like I say, the cast of the movie is very good. It's not too heavy on the jump scares. That's something that does annoy me with movies, especially modern horror movies. It does seem like a lot of movie makers have kind of run out of ideas in a lot of ways, and they recycle a lot of things. And a lot of the time, they do just rely on the jump scares. Don't get me wrong, there's maybe one or two in this. And they could have done without, but it was done very sparingly, so I wouldn't bother too much about that. I mean, you can mention it, but like I say, it's not something that I was too annoyed about. It didn't ruin the movie anyway. And something that was kind of similar with Sinister as well. There were a lot of jump scares in that one as well, but it didn't ruin it, I didn't think. I just think that they could have done it slightly differently. But that's just modern horror movies anyway, I suppose. So, right, well, I'll leave it there for non-spoilers anyway. So from now on, I am going to get into the spoilers. I'm going to talk about the movie, not beat for beat, but just generally more what happens in it, that kind of thing. So basically, this movie is set in 1978, and you've got a bunch of kids in this town in Colorado. I think it's Denver, I think it is, that keep going missing. And it's evident that the person that's doing it is some kind of magician guy that wears a mask and he carries these black balloons. And it's your typical child abduction where they'll approach a child and snatch them and throw them into the back of this black van and take them off somewhere. You don't really see too much of that happen, but you know it's been happening. And some kids, you do see them vanish. It's your typical story where you've got your main characters, a brother and a sister. The sister is having these like weird dreams as well about what's going on, like weird visions that don't really seem to add up to much to start with. But obviously she's seeing these visions of children getting abducted and that there are black balloons involved. And that gets back to the police, and they know that there are black balloons involved, but they haven't released that information to the public. So they're asking this little girl, how do you know about this? So she starts getting stressed out because she doesn't know what's going on. And the brother is having issues with bullies at school. The brother in this, he's the main character. He's kind of like, it was very good as well, very good young actor. So was the sister. But I would kind of describe him as kind of like a very young Jim Morrison. He had that kind of look about him. And he gets bullied and so on, but he's got a few friends as well. And he's got one friend in particular that stands up for him as well and tells him he needs to stand up for himself. That the day has to come where he will stand up for himself. So that's kind of his story arc in this, standing up to bullies. But the friend of his that says that to him, he gets abducted and subsequently killed off screen. And eventually the main character, the brother, like the young Jim Morrison, he gets kidnapped as well, and the majority of the film is about him stuck in this basement. And the gist of it is Ethan Hawke's character, you don't really get to see him full face much in the film, if at all. I can't remember if you see him full face, but he has this mask and it's kind of in two parts. It kind of goes up over there the top half is like a demon, and the bottom half changes. Sometimes he doesn't even have a bottom half; it's just like his face, and it's like an upper part of the mask. Sometimes it has the bottom part, and it'll have like a smile, or it'll have like a really sort of like angry look. Sometimes it doesn't even have a mouth, which looks really creepy. And sometimes he has just the bottom part of the mask, and you can see the top half of his head. So it mixes things up a little bit. And basically, he's kidnapped the main character at this point, and he's stuck in this basement. And there's a black phone on the wall, and every now and again it rings, and he'll answer it, and there's nobody there. But eventually, these voices start to come through, and he starts getting calls from the previous victims. These previous victims are all children that have gone missing before his abduction. And they're all basically saying, I was where you are now. This is what I did to try to escape. So somebody, for example, said, there's a bit where there's a place in this area that you're stuck in that you can dig down, and you might be able to tunnel your way out of there. So if you do that, give it a go. So he does that, and nothing that he tries, because he gets a few phone calls like that. He gets one where somebody says there's like a bit of a rope where if you find this, you can do something with it, and he tries to use a rope to sort of throw it up into this like window that's like in the top of the room and pull down this metal grill where there's bars. But he does that, but it's not enough to escape. He just can't get out of there once he's pulled the grill out. So he does lots of like half successful attempts at escape, but he can't actually escape. And all this kind of comes together later on in the film. And he's getting these phone calls. He'll get one call periodically from each person. And I think it's done in order of how they were kidnapped. And the gist of it is each person that he speaks to will say, look, I was kidnapped before you. This is what I tried to do. You should maybe give it a go, see if you do any better. Goodbye, kind of thing. And eventually the last call he gets is the friend of his that said he needs to stand up for himself. And he just basically says, this is the person. You really need to stand up for yourself for this guy. You need to beat the crap out of him, basically. So he goes through all that. Meanwhile, the sister's still having these visions, so she's on the outside looking for him, and so are the police as well. And it all kind of comes together at the end. The villain, the Ethan Hawke character, comes down, so he's finally had enough. He's going to kill him. And then it turns out all of these things that he tried kind of all come together. So there's like the rope that he tried to use, he uses as a tripwire. The tunnel that he tried to dig is now just a hole. He didn't manage to tunnel all the way out, and he trips over the tripwire, falls down the hole. So it all kind of comes together. So all these things that you thought, well, that went nowhere, it all comes together at the end. The metal grill that he pulled out of the wall, when he falls into the hole, that's in there, and he gets his leg caught in it, and he breaks his leg. So he's pretty good, because I was thinking at that point, all these little things that he tried, it was all for nothing, so it kind of seems pointless, but it all comes together. So that's very good kind of way of putting that all together. And his main story, his character development kind of has a beginning, a middle, and an end, because he kind of just disposes of the villain just by standing up to him and beating the crap out of him after he's trapped him in all this stuff. So he's pretty good like that. There's a real good, like, yeah, you fucking do it, mate. You know what I mean? Right at the end. So you got this kid that's kind of scrawny, standing up for himself and kind of winning out for it. And he escapes, and the sister finds where he is as well, and the police are there because she's having these weird visions as well. So there's her kind of story as well. That's kind of what goes on in the movie anyway. So I didn't want to say too much about it, but I suppose, like I say, I think that's a pretty good, by modern standards, a pretty good character journey. The story, there's not so much of a story as such, it's more character driven, and like I say, it's the strength of the two children that are in this, the actors. Some of the supporting actors are very good as well, and also, like I say, Ethan Hawke, when he does turn up occasionally in this movie. So, I would recommend seeing this film in the cinema. From what I understand, it was originally planned as like not a TV movie, but like a streaming movie. But I think that they when they realised that they had something that was pretty decent on their hands, they decided, no, we'll do a proper movie out of this, release it in cinemas, and that definitely helps as well. It was definitely a cinema movie. I don't think releasing this on streaming or whatever would have really done it all that much justice. I think this was one definitely to have a movie experience in the cinema, and I don't go to the cinema very often, so this was a nice treat anyway. So I will leave it there. I would say in terms of a score out of 10, I would give this a 7 out of 10. It's not the best horror film ever made. It's not the best film I've seen this year. But by modern horror movie standards, not to sound like a snob, but I really rated it. I thought it was good. So I will leave it there. So, like I say, I haven't done that many videos recently, so maybe I should have saved this one for Halloween special that we're going to do later in the year. We are talking about that now, so if you're a fan of the horror movie reviews on this channel, obviously we've got plenty of them up. We will be doing a Halloween series, Halloween special, the 10th annual Halloween special at the end of October, but there's plenty of time between now and then, so I don't want to really say too much more about it because it's all in developmental stage. Obviously affiliated link is in the video description, Tactical Soap. I don't want to spend too long talking about that. Obviously I've already mentioned it in the video intro, but if you check the video description, you can get 10% off Tactical Soap. I would recommend the Bond if you are going to buy any soap from there, because it is very nice, and check out the website tacticalsoap.com. It's just an affiliated link that I use. You can get 15% off if you use the discount code that's in the video description. So, Brandix Reviews, you can follow us if you're that desperate. You can like this video if you didn't think that I rambled on too much. Maybe I did, I don't know. But those are my thoughts on this movie. I definitely recommend you going to see it in the cinema. But if you don't get a chance, wait till it comes out on video or whatever. But don't miss it, because if you do like modern horror movies, the better ones, I would put this in that category. So I will leave there and say thank you very much for watching.